It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It's kind of a cloudy, overcast, but really nice Wednesday in Nashville, Tennessee. The SEC basketball tournament begins tonight at 6 o'clock down at Bridgestone. That is a really fun time. My guess is a lot of you are probably going to be there at some point this weekend. So, anyway, that's the way it is.
You like that comment?
I do.
It is beautiful. I can't believe how it feels today.
Wonder what it would be like in the backyard.
Probably not great internet, but
somebody's dog would come over and who knows what would happen.
Or we'd get pelted with one of your, what do you call it, the acorns or whatever?
Oh, my God, yes. Yeah, we've got a few. Let's do this. Let's head to Murfreesboro right off the bat and check in with Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, can we do the show at your house?
Absolutely, but if the wind blows and messes your hair up, you're going to have a conniption.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, because you're always doing this. You're like Jimmy Johnson. You're like trying to get your hair done.
Gaylord Perry used to do as he'd get ready to.
Yes, he put a little stuff on.
Oh, he sure did. He sure did. So
Billy don't know anything about that, George. He don't really understand that.
Billy, tell me you know who Gaylord Perry is.
I do know who Gaylord Perry is.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Gosh, thank goodness.
That's Kelly's go-to. Billy doesn't know who that is.
I don't. I mean, you have no clue, dude. Get out of your box, man. Let's go. Like, get home and get a book and read or do something.
All right, I'll go back.
Gracious.
I'll go back to the future and try to connect.
What was it he asked you
to
do recently, and have you done it?
I forget. He
Did
said,
it involve you too? The streets have no names.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I still need to do that.
Okay.
He don't care. He don't care.
No, I don't think he does either. So what's going on, Kelly?
Not much, man. I feel a lot better that I've gotten the forecast from Danielle Breezy today. So everything's copacetic at 114.
Right. You can move on with your life. That's good.
That's correct. Yes, absolutely. It does feel good outside. I've been outside walking around. It does feel nice.
That's good. You need to get out every once in a while. Maybe it'll take some of the sting off whatever possesses you. Billy, do you have an update in your future?
I do. We're gonna.
Is it any good?
It's pretty good.
Is it?
Lori Burnett Leland's a part of it.
Oh, that's right, because we're going to kick off with a March Madness scoreboard update.
Yes, always.
Which is brought to you by
Lori Burnett Leland. You can visit her at mortgageladyyusa.com. That's mortgageladyyusa.com. We got a lot more today because we got the Big 12 starting. ACC continues to roll on. And we've got three finals. First, in the American Athletic Conference, Wichita State beats Rice 88-81. And then in the A-10, St. Joe's beat George Mason 64-57. And Florida State knocks off Virginia Tech 86-76 in the ACC tournament.
Does that one knock Virginia Tech out, or were they out to begin with?
I think they were already out.
Yeah.
Both those teams were 10-10 in the ACC. So
2 words. High NIT.
Yeah, they'll
Never
enjoy the
something
NIT.
you really want to hear.
The bubble can be cruel. I mean, that's the dark side of March when you lose a game and you know you're out, or you lose in the championship, like ETSU, for example.
Yeah.
Sanford's celebrating, but ETSU was, a few possessions away from making the tournament. So that's the dark side. We do have several games in action right now. At the half, Fordham trails VCU 37-35 in the A10 tournament. Wyoming is up on Fresno State 41-35 out west in the Mountain West. That's going to be a good tournament to watch.
Yeah, those two teams won't be there long.
Yeah. Is that on CBS Sports Network? All those games?
Most of it is, I think.
Yeah, so that'll be a good tournament to watch. Right now, Wake Forest all over Notre Dame, a bubble team. Wake Forest needs this one, and they might even need to win tomorrow. They're up on Notre Dame 20-6.
That's a pretty good basketball team.
Yeah, Steve Forbes has done a great job there at Wake. And in the SWAC, Alabama A&M and Alcorn State tied at 4. So that's what we got right now. We've got some that are waiting to tip off that were scheduled for 2 o'clock, USC and Washington in the Pac-12. UTSA and Temple in the American, and then Oklahoma and TCU coming up as well. So games all day.
Can I make an editorial comment?
Yes.
Last night, I took Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, wanted to see Gonzaga win so I could continue on this little mini streak I'm on. I watched the last game between the two teams when Gonzaga just beat the crap out of them at St. Mary's. There were no issues. But all of a sudden last night, Gonzaga gets into a position where St. Mary's is no longer their little whipping boy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they get chippy. Go St. Mary's.
Hey, sometimes the bully in the neighborhood needs punched in his mouth, and that's what happened last night.
Here's the thing. They act like they're Duke, but let's just put one little factoid out there. For all the greatness of Gonzaga, and I've dissed on them a lot over the years, they've never won it all.
Yeah.
Nope. Never won it all.
They only had one trip to the Final Four.
Yeah, it was when Baylor
Yeah.
got them. Was it 3 years ago?
I think so. That was a good chance for Gonzaga to win it all, too. And
I was proud, though. From the very beginning, I was like, it ain't happening. Even though Gonzaga was ranked number 1 throughout most of the year. But they have this little air about them, a little bit like Duke does. Sort of this, our stuff doesn't smell, and who are you to come into our inner sanctum and you know, and all of a sudden St. Mary's decided last night, you know, you're no longer, we're not going to be your whipping boy. And all of a sudden Gonzaga needed it to get chippy.
Yeah. You know, I start to think Mark Few got in trouble. What was it, 2 years ago now with the DUI? And I wonder if recruiting wise,
I don't know.
Some coaches out west maybe use that against, because they haven't, ever since then, they really haven't kind of gotten back to the number, you know, top 4 overall seed.
Last night, the big kid who is their big gun, Ike, got in early foul trouble and really was not much of a factor in the game.
Yeah.
But it became very apparent that St. Mary's wasn't backing down at all. And Gonzaga's a little bit like Duke. You know, Duke's got a lot of great stuff going on, but there's also a little bit of attitude at Duke.
Yeah.
You know, if need be, we may trip you. Ooh.
Yeah. God forbid, you know, one of their players gets knocked down or somebody does something dirty to them. You can't do that. But
Philip Kowski did it as a tribute to Grayson Allen.
Yes, he did.
Thank you. Shall we move on?
Yeah, I was going to say Randy Bennett at St. Mary's. He's been there a long time. He's done a good job, and he's had to compete with Gonzaga. So St. Mary's are your WCC champs, and that is your March Madness scoreboard update so far, brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. Visit her at mortgagelady.usa.com.
My little rant was really not a part of that. But in no means does that reflect anything that any attitude that Lori and her company may have.
Certainly not. Elsewhere in the world of sports, the Preds are back in action tonight. Felt like they haven't played in a while.
Since Sunday.
Since Sunday. Back in action tonight. They're playing Winnipeg,
which may be moving out of Winnipeg. There's all kinds of rumors for a team that not only will be in the playoffs, but, you know, could well be, you know, a 2 seed. There's a lot of rumblings in Winnipeg.
I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah.
Where are they talking about going, George?
If I was going to guess, if I was going to give you two names to watch out for, Houston, Salt Lake City.
For really?
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. So moving all out of Canada.
Maybe.
Wow.
Salt Lake City would support NHL team. I think so.
They sure have supported the Jazz.
Yeah. This is random, but Mike Vrabel was spotted at the Jazz game last night. He's I think he's got a place out there in Utah. So
Is he aligning with the Celtics?
I don't know. That obviously doesn't mean anything, but
okay.
I saw that last night.
Good for him.
Yeah. So Preds, Winnipeg favored by, or I don't even know. They're minus 155.
Yeah, which is it's a baseball. Hockey and baseball use the same deal.
Yeah. So Preds in action tonight. Some more NFL stuff starting to slow down a little bit, but kind of an interesting piece today. The Chargers have released Mike Williams, wide receiver, and they've saved $20 million on their salary cap. So
should a team we know, Kelly, be interested?
I would be putting my hand in the arena. That's for sure. I mean, I think he's a really good football player, man. I can't. Of course, that's what this league has become. I mean, it becomes down. You if you're a coach, you want to keep a Mike Williams because the guy can play. But financially, man, sometimes they just get so much on that cap hit that it makes no sense. And he hits the open market, and that's what happens. And yeah, I would with the money that the Titans have, and they've spent some already on some pretty good players. I would try to go get him. Absolutely.
Because they got to get a receiver. And we know they're getting a receiver. It's just a matter of who. We've heard a lot about maybe Calvin Ridley, now potentially Mike Williams. And Mike Williams he's destroyed the Titans in the times he's played them. So
how about that? More like they need more than one.
Yeah, I mean you could see the Titans getting more than one. And does that mean they don't draft one? Do they still draft
one?
Who
knows?
That would be the hard decision for me. Evaluating, can we get a guy that we think will be more of an immediate impact in the draft? Because they're going to get at least one in free agency, we think. Do they get two and then draft one as well?
This is why we're having Terry on.
Yeah, Terry.
Let him sort through it.
I do want to go back to college hoops, though, real quick. Louisville made it official last night. They have they have fired Kenny Payne.
Who told you that first?
You might have.
Yes.
His record,
as they called him, the producer.
The director.
The director.
The director.
Guess how many wins he had in his 2 years at
Louisville? It was something like 16, 14.
12.
Really?
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, it was great.
He went 12-52 in 2 years at Louisville.
The deal at Louisville has been a mess. And the problem is they've got a 22,000 seat facility, the Yum Center, that is beautiful. Yeah. And in the best of times, you can't get a seat in that place. In the worst of times, Patty Hearst, upper deck. Yeah.
Yeah, it had gotten ugly. And I don't think they had any other option there. So we'll see where they go. There's a lot of options out there.
I think the only surprise when I put it out there yesterday and you expressed really was not that he'd done great, but that they would, after 2 years to a former U of L player, this is going to be a really interesting search.
It is. There's a lot out there. You got some coaches that are at other big-time Power 5 schools they'll probably look at. There's some coaches at G5 schools, mid-majors they'll probably look at. So,
I think they're going sitting Power 5.
Do they bring Rick Pitino back?
He's not walking through that door.
They are his buyout is $8 million. So, yeah, he originally signed.
George, you think they'll go after a high-profile guy?
Oh, I guarantee it.
Really?
Yeah.
Look,
Louisville in the best of times is a national power.
Oh, they're good. They were good. I remember that back in the day, man, at Freedom Hall. Yeah, absolutely.
They're hacked off that they're in this position. They've kind of proven it by bagging him after 2 years. at some point, I'm told by friends of mine up there that this decision was made in November.
Wow.
That he's been dead meat for a good while.
Yeah, he originally signed a 6-year contract. So I'm surprised the buyout's only $8 million with 4 years left, technically. So
yeah,
they were smart with their money. Let's see here. Also in college on the football, well, not necessarily football, but football focused. Texas A&M is searching for an AD. It's been a quiet search, but they appeared to settle on a target. Current Nebraska AD Trev Alberts.
Really?
Trev Alberts. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I turned it down about 3 days ago. I didn't want to live in College Station. I told him I would work from home.
I bet if they offered you the job, you wouldn't. If you would have taken it, because they've got money. They got that oil money down there.
They've got J.R. Ewing wannabe money.
Yes, they do.
All right, we got Terry coming on talking Titans.
Yes.
I want to give some Yankee news.
Oh, Lord.
Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole, that's not good news.
He's going to miss at least 4 to 6 weeks with an elbow issue. He's their guy. Is he their ace, George?
Shoot, yeah, he's their ace.
So, reigning AL Cy Young Award winner is going to miss the first month or so of the season.
Terry McCormick will join us after the break. We'll get into Titan free agency. Is there more coming? What does all of this mean so far? Stay tuned.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256 7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House for all your personalization and recognition needs. Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, has been a busy man the last 2 or 3 days, but don't let that fool you. He appears to be lounging at the moment on the lanai. Terry, I don't even quite know what a lanai is.
I'm not sure I know what one is either.
Yeah,
I
it
just know I'm
sounded
sitting
good.
in my leather chair in the bedroom.
Yeah, it sounded good though, didn't it?
It did.
So give us sort of your overall, just general assessment of what the Titans have done over the last couple of days.
Well, I think they've gone about filling some of the holes that they've had on the roster. They've made some nice additions. They've got Lloyd Cushenberry, who was maybe the best center on the market to fill that spot. He replaces Aaron Brewer. Big guy, 6'4", I think 315 pounds. Brewer was about 6'1", 275. So big change there in terms of the type of player they're moving toward as opposed to having had before. A couple of the other guys, I mean, the Tony Pollard deal gives them a complementary piece to Tajay Spears, a guy who's a lot like Spears in terms of skill set, because he's a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Plus, he rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Not going to be like Derrick Henry, but then again, as you change your philosophy, you have to have players to fit it. A couple of the other people that they signed, they added. They have added a cornerback in Chidobe Uwizia. I think that's the way you pronounce his name, from the Bengals. Somebody that Brian Callahan knows really, really well from having been there and coached with the Bengals for a number of years. Not a superstar type player at corner, but a decent qualities NFL starter who can give you, a decent job probably as a number 2 corner. They're still looking, I guess, for a number 1 corner. Linebacker inside, Kenneth Murray, brought over from the Chargers. Really good athlete. Didn't perform as well as his draft status, being a first rounder in 2020, might have indicated, but still a guy that has some upside and can, really cover the field sideline to sideline with his athletic ability. Then they've also added another offensive lineman late last night, and that was Sadiq Charles. He played at LSU with Cushenberry, probably more of a right guard, right tackle type. So he'll come in and compete for a roster spot, maybe compete for a starting job, maybe one of those guys that Bill Callahan feels like that he can get more out of maybe than he got from the Washington Commanders, where Charles has been for the last 4 years. Still a lot of holes to fill. Still looking to add a receiver, I would think. Still probably want to add a safety, probably one more inside linebacker, another pass rusher. And then there's always what to do at left tackle, which they may answer in the draft, or they may try to look for somebody in free agency, but still a lot of holes to fill, plus a backup quarterback.
Okay, let's bring Kelly into this. Terry's going to be with us until right at the top of the hour, and so we're both going to kind of bob and weave a little bit in and out of some stuff. Guys, let me throw this one at you. Is Ryan Tannehill in the witness protection program and I don't know it? You never hear him mentioned.
No, it's interesting. I mean, who knows if he would be willing to be a backup. I think he still has his eyes set on being a starting quarterback in the league, or at least a bridge quarterback. But those jobs are starting to dry up. And then you're seeing guys like Jacoby Brissett go back to New England. You're seeing Gardner Minshew sign with the Raiders. So there are not a lot of spots where you could even be guaranteed to come in and start while a young quarterback sits behind you and learns. who knows if Ryan Tannehill would be willing to come back here as number 2 quarterback. But with Minshew off the board, with Drew Lock off the board, with Jacoby Brissett off the board, the options are starting to dwindle. I know a lot of people are thinking, and this wouldn't be a bad idea either, maybe a guy like Joe Flacco, maybe a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who worked with new quarterbacks coach Bo Hardigree last year with the Raiders. Maybe those might be options as the number 2 quarterback. But Tannehill, the opportunity for him to be a starter is rapidly drying up. Other than the Denver Broncos, there's really not a place where you could go, hey, Ryan Tannehill could walk right in there and be the starter.
I think Minnesota would be another one today you could say that about.
What's that?
Minnesota would be another one you could say that about.
But they signed Sam Darnold, so I would think that a younger Sam Darnold would probably get the nod over Ryan Tannehill. But if Tannehill went there, it would at least be a competitive situation.
Okay, I know that we're having some internet connection issues today that we have not had, so all of you kind of bear with us on this. Kelly, speculate. Tannehill, witness protection program. Why?
I don't know that, George. I think it's a situation where he came here and he was behind Marcus Mariota, and then something happened to him and he was able to come in and kind of prove his worth to the team and take over as a starting quarterback and then get a contract. I think that's what you're going to have to see again for Ryan Tannehill if he's willing to do that. But at this point in his career, I mean, he's played for a long time, and I think Terry's right. I mean, what are your goals now? Do you want to be a starter, or do you just want to be part of the NFL? And I think that's something that he's going to have to answer for himself. But he's getting older. We all come to that conclusion. I had to come to that conclusion at some point too. I mean, I could have played 2 or 3 more years, but got to the point where it was becoming drudgery to me. I didn't want to go to training camp. I didn't like training camp. I didn't want to be away from my family. And that's what Ryan Tannehill's going through right now. And I think that the starting gig is probably over at this point for him. But if he goes in to a right situation behind somebody and he's willing to do that again in his career, I think there's a place for him. But just like Terry said, I mean, this stuff is getting filled up pretty fast. Plus, you got the draft coming up next month. So who knows? Who knows what people are thinking right now? Nobody's going to tell you the truth. And I've always said I like Ryan Tannehill, but, everybody has that day where it's time for me to call it a career. And who knows where his mind is and who knows what, teams are thinking about him right now.
Terry, help us with this, and you may cringe when I ask this. So what was the number salary cap wise the Titans went in with?
I think it was right around 85, 87 million, something like that overall.
Okay, when a novice like me tries to compute what they've got left, are you basically taking the salaries that have been signed and subtracting? Help me to understand what have they got left?
Well, I don't know exactly what they've got left. It depends on how the deals are structured, and only a couple of the details have come out. I think the Pollard deal was about a $4 million cap hit this year. I think that was kind of what they were saying. But the way it works, if I sign Kelly to a 3-year, $12 million deal, let's say I'm paying him $1 million the first year. I'm paying him $3 million the second year, and I'm paying him $8 million the third year, or $6 million the third year, which would be a total of $10 million. And I give him $2 million as a signing bonus for that $12 million deal. Then that $2 million signing bonus is spread out over the 3 years of the contract. And a third of it goes on this year, the next year, and the final year. And it's spread out equally. And that number plus the base salary is your cap number and how much comes off the cap for you. Plus there are things like bonuses, like roster bonuses. There are things like performance bonuses that can escalate certain contracts if you have that clause in your contract. So it's always kind of a influx thing dependent upon if you're meeting these performance incentives and how much guaranteed money you have and how much it's spread out over the life of the contract. So without knowing the exact details of all these contracts that they've agreed to with these guys, it's impossible to know exactly how much they have to spend. But my guess is with 5 guys that they've already signed, they've probably spent a fair chunk of it, but they've got plenty of money to go get some more players.
Okay, here's where I want both of y'all to help me. The offensive line was a disaster. We all know that. So the two of you all tell me on that roster, who are the keepers? Obviously, Skoronsky is one of them.
Yes. Well,
okay.
Now you got Cushenberry and Charles are going to be keepers because you just signed those 2 guys.
Okay. But, okay, Cushenberry, obviously, starting center.
Yes.
I'm diagramming here, which is really scary. Okay. So
maybe you show your work, please.
This is really scary. Let's play tic-tac-toe, boys and girls. So, how many, of the roster before free agency, Skoronsky was one they're going to keep. If for no other reason, then he was a rookie. Who else were they going to keep who they have in the mix?
Well, I think they end up cutting Andre Dillard once he's due, I think, a roster bonus on Monday. I think they'll end up cutting him before that. They'll still have Jalen Duncan on the roster. They'll still have Dylan Radens on the roster. They will still have Nicholas Petit-Ferrer on the roster. They'll still have Daniel Brunskill on the roster. And there are a couple of more guys that I'd have to go and look it up. But that's pretty much it in terms of what they have. Okay.
How many starters are in that batch you just put out there?
Maybe one.
Petit-Ferrer.
And I don't really know. And honestly, I don't really know who that one is.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 to 2, I'll say. It's a possibility. Brunskill was your right guard last year. It's possible he can hang on to that spot. It's possible that between Radens and Petit-Ferrer and Duncan that you might salvage a right tackle out of that if you don't have one in mind in free agency or the draft.
Okay. Would I be right? The left tackle to the blind side of a Will Levis is the most important piece in this.
That player is not on your roster right now, George.
Correct.
Okay. Most left tackles do not get out of don't even get to free agency because
if
of their importance.
They're generally either one bad or they're 32, 33 years old and only have a year or 2 left to give you.
Correct. That's why you got to go to the draft to get somebody like that.
Okay, so the left tackle in 2024, does that become priority number 1 in the draft?
I think in most people's minds, it probably does. I think if Joe Alt is sitting there at number 7, they're going to have to think long and hard about taking him. Same thing if Ola Fashanu is there at number 7. I think they have to take a look at him. Now, that's not to say that they're locked in on a tackle there. If they feel like it's a pretty deep tackle draft, they could get that guy in the 2nd round. Once upon a time, Michael Roos was a 2nd round pick. He worked out really well here as a left tackle for a long time. So it's possible to get that guy at 38 if there is a superstar type playmaker at number 7 that you want to add to your roster. If you feel like that Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze is a major difference maker and can, really electrify the offense, for lack of a better term, when you pair him with Will Levis and with DeAndre Hopkins on the other side, then maybe you go ahead and draft a receiver at number 7, much like the Bengals did when they drafted Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell in the draft a few years ago. Both those guys worked out really well. Sewell with Detroit and Chase, of course, with the Bengals. Bengals still had protection issues, but they were able to overcome it by scheming up and getting the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands into Chase's hands. If you feel like Neighbors or Odunze can be that type of guy, and I'm not saying be that type of guy in 2 years, be that type of guy right now, then you can take them at number 7. Otherwise, I think you are almost forced to go Joe Alt or Ola Fashanu.
Okay. So let me make sure I got a couple of things. I know I'm belaboring this maybe a little too much, but at the moment, you don't believe there is a left tackle in free agency that is worth going to get.
Tyron Smith, formerly the Cowboys, probably the best guy out there. 32, 33 years old, maybe by the time the season starts. You could go and get a guy like him or Bakhtiari, who's had some injury problems let go by Green Bay. You could go get one of those two and postpone having to draft a tackle maybe for a season or two, but you don't want to get locked into big money and have to owe these guys a lot of cash when they're not playing at a high level maybe a year or two from now. You want to be able to solve this problem and do it long term. Now, with Bill Callahan on board, and he's regarded as an offensive line guru. If you want to sign a left tackle like Smith or like Bakhtiari and squeeze 1 year out of it, if they're agreeable to that and they can't find anything anywhere else, and you want to get a guy and put him out there for a year while you develop a guy with a draft pick that maybe would be a little cheaper, you can roll the dice and do that. But the left tackle as right now, whether it's a draft pick or a free agent, is not on this roster.
Okay. The last thing on my end, then we'll go to the commercial break and you'll get a lot better questions from Kelly. So you listed a couple of people that are great wide receiver talents, I think that's what I heard, that might be first round and then left tackle second round. Give me those names again.
Well, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the first name, but I don't think he's going to be there at number 7. I think he'll be gone in the first 5 picks. So I think Rome Odunze from the University of Washington. And Malik Neighbors from LSU.
Okay,
those are the two.
Stop there. Those are the two.
Yes.
Before I so rudely interrupted you. Is Brock Bowers in that category as well?
Certainly a game changer at his position. And even though Brian Callahan's system has not really been as tight end favorable as it has been wide receiver favorable, from what he ran in Cincinnati, the Bengals had a different tight end almost every year that Callahan was the offensive coordinator there under Zach Taylor. So I wouldn't think that they would make tight end a top priority, but if you feel a guy like Bowers is too good to pass up, Brian Callahan and his staff are smart enough to draw up plays that would get Brock Bowers the football the same way they could draw up plays that would get Malik Neighbors the football.
Okay, we'll stop there. Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, talking Titan football and in particular free agency that's going on right now. He and Kelly Holcomb will hash it out right after this.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Okay, round two. Look at that little triple box there. Very impressive. Terry McCormick in the far right-hand corner from Main Street Media, talking Titans and free agency. Kelly, the floor is yours.
So, Terry, Mike Williams gets let go at the Chargers. Would that be a situation? I guess we're going to put on your GM hat. Would that be a situation where they've still got some cap room left? Would he be one of those guys that Brian Callahan goes after, you think?
Well, I certainly think that he's somebody that they would have to consider because beyond DeAndre Hopkins, they don't really have anybody at the receiver position that you would call super reliable. Now, Williams is coming off an ACL tear that limited him to just a handful of games last year. So you'd have to check him out, make sure that the medicals were right, make sure that he was going to be able to make a recovery and could come in and contribute. But I certainly think that he would be somebody that among the free agent wide receivers that are left would move up right up there near the top of the list of guys that teams might want to take a look at.
Well, what about the T. Higgins situation in Cincinnati? I don't think they'll ever let him leave there, but he's disgruntled, obviously, because he doesn't have a contract. He doesn't have a contract in hand, and he wants a new one. And he said he wanted to be traded, which I don't think that'll ever happen. But I'm sure, don't you think that the Titans have probably kind of hinted around a little bit there about what's going on with T?
Yeah, I'm sure they have. And the same thing on the L'Jarius Sneed front, the cornerback who was franchised by the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm told by a couple of people that the Titans do have some interest there, but I'm also told that no offer has been put forth. Here's the thing that's hamstringing the Titans in trying to trade for somebody that's already under the franchise tag, whether it be Higgins or Sneed. They don't have a third-round pick. That pick was spent last year to move up to be able to get Will Levis. So you're without a third-round pick, and it's going to take at least probably a first or second-round pick, if not a third round, to get to be thrown into this package to get either one of these guys. And when you don't have a third-round pick and you can't afford to part with your first-round pick, well, you can't afford to part with your second-round pick either, because if you trade away your second-round pick, you're going the whole middle day of the draft without making any choices. A lot of good players come off the board on that second day of the draft, Kelly, as you well know. And so it's going to be very, very hard. It would have to be something really creative for them to be able to pull off a trade for either of those guys.
So, y'all were talking about the O-line, and the O-line is where it's at. We both know football starts up front on both sides, on the defense and offense. And it looks to me like, we've harped on these guys for the last couple of years about their O-line. Their O-line was not very good. But with, I think the Petit Friere guy, I think you've got to give him another shot. I mean, had some injuries last year, but they've got 3 really good offensive linemen now with Skoronski coming in. Of course, that was his rookie year last year, and they just signed somebody. If they can draft somebody, I mean, you're looking at a totally different deal. But I know that we're talking about receivers, and we talked a little bit about Brock Bowers, but are you hearing anything from those guys, like who they're really pinpointed on with the offensive tackle? Because this is such a good draft with tackles. I don't think you can pass that up. Am I correct?
No, I think you're probably right. And I think some of it depends on, like you said, what do they think of Petit Ferrer? What does Bill Callahan think of Dylan Radins? What does Bill Callahan think of Jalen Duncan? Can he turn them into decent players? Can he turn them into something that is starter caliber? Who knows? Maybe he can, maybe he can't. So I think what you're going to have to find your left tackle probably in the draft. And then I wouldn't put it past him to use one of those third-day picks on another tackle just to ensure that if he can't play right away, maybe before the season's over, he could be ready to play, or maybe in year 2, he could be ready to play on the right side. I'll ask you this because you played in the league and you would know this more so than I, but how many quality of the 5 starting offensive linemen, how many of them have to be top-notch quality, and how many of them can you get by with just a guy who's serviceable that won't do dumb things that get you in trouble with penalties and missed blocks?
Well, going into they're going to have a guy, and I don't realize, I'm not sure how the practice squad works anymore, but you got to keep an offensive lineman on a practice squad, whether it's a guard, you would like to have a guy that can play, either guard and center, or both sides of tackle. You got to have a guy like that. So they only keep, I don't know how many Brian Callahan guys are keeping. How many offensive linemen did the Titans keep last year, Terry?
I think they may have kept as many as 10 just because they were so
10?
bad. But I
They
think
were really bad.
most teams keep 9 to 10, and then they have 7 to 8 active on game day.
Right. So you always got to have those guys. So I'm not sure. That's a good question, Terry. I'm not sure what you do with that, but you've got to have some guys, and the guys other than a starting 5. The starting 5 can be specific in what they do, but then after that, you want a guy that can play center and both guards, and then you want a tackle. You want a couple of guys that can play both sides. So I think they've done a really good job so far with the guys the guy that they picked up. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know if you keep any of the other guys. I mean, I don't know, but you talked about Bill Callahan being kind of a miracle worker. He's considered the O-line guru of the National Football League now. He's paid his dues. He's been in a long time, and it'll be interesting to see who they keep, because you've got guys, whether you think they're good or not, they've got experience and they've been in the heat of the battle. So, that's something that you got to look at too. But I just don't think that if one of these offensive tackles come up at 7, which you've got a bunch of them, I think that you could set your sights on that, and you could have a guy at left tackle for a long time if Will Levis is who we think he is. Now, that's where I'm going to go with this. Well, have you heard anything about Malik Willis? Let's start off with that. Have you heard anything about what they're going to do with him, or have you heard anything from that aspect of it?
Well, he's still on a rookie contract, and I asked Brian Callahan that at the Combine, or Malik Willis. I think they both asked about Carthon and Callahan were both asked about Malik Willis at the Combine. They said that, they like the skill, they like some of the skill set that he has in terms of, arm mobility, that sort of thing, but they need to see him continue to work and continue to develop. So that, to me, says that Malik Willis is a 3 that you hope and pray could become a 2. So I don't know. I mean, it's not going to hurt you to bring him to camp, not going to hurt you to play him in preseason, to see how much he's improved, to see how much he adapts to this new system, which Will Levis is also going to have to adapt to. But if I'm Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon, I need a better insurance policy than Malik Willis as my backup to Will Levis.
I think so too, but here's where I'm going to go with this. Okay, I think that like they've been really slow. I mean, there's still some time in free agency. What do they got till the March 19th? I think that's when it closes. So they still got some time. They've still got some guys like the Jimmy Garoppolo's, the Case Keenums, the guys out there. So do you think they're going that way, or I presented yesterday as Brian Callahan's he's a first year coach. Do you think they maybe draft a younger guy in the later rounds to try to, kind of bring him up to speed? And then if somebody that they really like and they just kind of leave it as it is right now, and, everybody's going to give coaches, first year coaches, a little bit of a growing pain. So, Brian Callahan's talked about Will Levis, and we got a little sample size of Will Levis last year, and everybody's calling him like the next coming of, guys in the past. I don't know. I just kind of slow my roll, but is this a situation where they may draft a guy maybe in the third or fourth round that they really like and kind of, go with Malik Willis, or, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the next couple of days, because they're going to have to go after a guy like that, or maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe they're going to draft somebody in the later rounds of the draft.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on what they do here in the next few days, next week or two, in terms of looking for a veteran backup. If they're not successful, and if they fill the other holes in free agency, so that they can afford to take a quarterback in the fifth round, say, if there's somebody there that they really like, because you want to get yourself in a position when you're playing and making your picks on the third day to take guys who have some upside, to take guys that you like that maybe fit what you do, so that if there is a developmental quarterback there, you want to be able to take that because you fill that hole that you had at safety, because you fill that hole that you had at right tackle, because you fill that hole that you had at inside linebacker. All those things come into play. So I think before they can do that, I think they have to kind of see how this free agency period shakes out, and see exactly who they can get in the fold to fill a lot of these holes before they turn their attention fully to the draft to address some of these other needs, like a developmental quarterback.
So, Terry, this is my last question. Put your GM hat on, man. If I've always been a tight end guy. If Brock Bowers is there, do you take him? You're the GM.
Gosh, it'd be hard to pass up. It'd be real hard to pass up.
Real hard, because you look at Gronkowski. I mean, he's got the Gronkowski, the tight ends of old. Like he's got, he's got some George Kittle in him. I mean, he's one of those guys. Like tight ends to me were always mismatches. They were always mismatches to me, and you've got to have good ones. And I don't, man. Receivers, yeah, you can go get a Rome Odunze later, maybe, or Malik Nate. I don't know, but like Brock Bowers is one of those transitional guys, and he's one of them generational talents. I just don't know if you pass him up.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult call. It would be hard to. You don't pass up generational type talent, and I think that's regardless of the position. And Callahan's already talked about how he likes guys who can score touchdowns, and I'm pretty sure that Brock Bowers scored his share of those at Georgia.
He can score touchdowns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, anybody wearing Georgia red scored touchdowns.
Yeah, true.
But this guy is, at least off his college stuff, man.
Really good.
Yeah.
Got to stay healthy. That could be something with him as well.
Terry, appreciate it as always. Get Garrett Cole healthy, because you're going to need him.
Oh my gosh, they're going to need him badly. That's why they got to go out and sign some more pitchers. Good grief.
You think they go get Snell?
I hope so. Him or Montgomery.
Yeah, I think it's headed that way. Thanks as always.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Terry McCormick talking Titans football during the first hour. Okay, after the break, we'll have stat of the day. Then we'll have a March Madness scoreboard update. A lot of games going on around the country. And then the decision. We've speculated for weeks.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you. And now We're bound to be getting close one way or the other. Stay tuned.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Yo, you want to see something cool? No? Well, I'm going to do it anyway.
Step into the scene. No, nobody can do it like me. Zoop house plate with the kick cuisine. I was the blacktop king. 360s in my green machine. I was a kid and I was breaking down doors. Listening to Tribe, now we on a world tour.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Top of the hour on a Wednesday. A lot of hoops action going on. Conference tournaments continue. A lot of basketball today. We'll get to some of the scores, but first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards out in Shelbyville. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. All right, let's see where we're going today. Looks like we're going college hoops. Danny Hurley has been named Big East Coach of the Year at UConn. Who was the last UConn head coach to win the award?
Who's the dude that played there? I forget his name, George.
Kevin Ollie, and that's who you're thinking, and that's who I'm thinking. The
Ollie.
easy one, Calhoun seems like too obvious a pick. What the heck? Let's go Kevin Ollie.
Well, it wasn't too obvious. It is
It
Jim
wasn't.
Calhoun.
Gosh.
Ollie never did.
Wow.
Really?
Calhoun back in 98.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was the first one until Hurley, or the last one until Hurley won it this year.
Yeah.
So they haven't had one in a while.
You got work to do?
I do.
Let's do it.
Let's get to another March Madness scoreboard update brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online, mortgageladyusa.com. That's mortgageladyusa.com. All right, we've got more finals to report. Earlier today in the Big 12 tournament, BYU beat UCF 84-73. So UCF's a good run here late in the season ends. In the American, Wichita State beats Rice 88-81. St. Joe's beats George Mason in the A-10 tournament, 64-57. Florida State holds on. They beat Virginia Tech 86-76 in the ACC tournament. We got several games going on right now. Fordham and VCU, a good one down the stretch in the A-10 tournament. They're tied at 61 late in that one. Also, Fresno State up by 2 on Wyoming with 2 seconds left.
They've rallied to take that lead.
In that one, tough year for Fresno. At the half, actually second half just started, Wake Forest still up on Notre Dame 42-34. Also in the Pac-12, Washington leads USC 42-37 right now. And in the American Temple, all over UTSA so far, despite the this betting scandal going on, 31-17. They lead UTSA late in the first. And TCU is up on Oklahoma in the Big 12 tournament, 35-23. We've got Xavier and Butler coming up. And, of course, first 2 SEC games tonight, Vanderbilt and Arkansas at 6, and the Missouri and Georgia 30 minutes after the end of that one. So that's what we've got.
Okay, we welcome all of you. Yes, go ahead.
Brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. Again, her website, mortgageladyusa.com.
Okay, we welcome all of you into the 3 o'clock hour from our digs at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. Earlier today, as I reported it would happen yesterday, this is the story. Listen to this. Saying, quote, a change is needed, end of quote, to help the Cardinals reach expectations. Louisville Athletic Director Josh Hurd announced Wednesday that Kenny Payne has been fired as men's basketball coach. Now, the words change is needed. Hello. Change is needed on West End. Vandy, 9-22 overall, 4-14 in the Southeastern Conference. In Jerry Stackhouse's 5th year, y'all know how I feel. I have long since, going back to late November, said it's time to get him out of here. It ain't working. A change is needed. But more and more, as I survey people, I hear, Kelly, seldom have I seen a story that has more rumors on both ends tied to it. I hear that the buyout's $14.5 million. That seems like an awful lot. Frankly, he should never have had his contract extended. That's for another day. I hear the other. The players hate him. They want out of here. There's going to be a mass exodus. Got to do something. I've never seen a story that had this many conflicting rumors that are out there.
Do you hear that the players do hate him, George? You hear that?
Yeah, there's real trouble in the relationship between him and players, and really, the proof is kind of in the pudding.
Right.
Years.
That's kind of That's kind of what I was going to say. The proof is kind of in the pudding when you got all these kids that are leaving. Like, you're in an SEC school, you got a storied tradition. I'm going to go back to what I said about my football program up here. It seemed like everybody got apathetic to the whole deal. Nobody cared. It's kind of seeming that way when you go to Memorial Gymnasium and on West End, man. Just nobody cares. They're upset. They're angry. And that's been such a great place to play basketball. You've had some really good basketball teams there. And that's where it all lies to me. Like, when you can't get people to sell season tickets, and then when you got kids that are jumping ship the first opportunity they get to go somewhere else, then yeah, there's something going on that needs to be addressed. I don't know, George. I feel for y'all. It happened up here in Murfreesboro. We got your former Vanderbilt coach Derek Mason, who I was with when he was a quality control guy at the Minnesota Vikings. But something needs to be done, because when you're not putting people in the seats and you're not making any money, I mean, that's really where all this goes. And I can't believe that you just told me that it was almost $15 million to buy him out. That's wow.
That's what's being rumored. Now, let me say this. The thing that is hard is because it's a private school, you can't totally know for sure.
Right, right. And normally when that happens, you got people to step up to the plate that are these big boosters that say, hey, I want him out. I want to write a check. I don't know how that's different from a public school to a private school. Y'all still got lots of money there, but man, that's a big cap hit for a college, for a university to do that. And for giving him that, I know you said that you didn't think he deserved that, but for giving him that, and then now it's not turning out. And when you got all these kids going in the transfer portal, and then he says what he said about, they got the best money, they got the best players money can buy a couple of months ago. I don't know. I know how hard it is to coach. I know how hard it is to be in that arena. You've got to win. Sadly, that's what our society is now. It's all based on money, and if you're not putting people in the seats, that's kind of where the line's drawn, and a move needs to be made.
Yeah, I think at first we had heard 8 to 10 million on the buyout, and then it kind of got up to 14 to 15, and I even heard upwards of 20. I don't believe that, but I mean, there is just, George is right. There is so much out there, whether it's the players don't like him. He's bringing his golf clubs on road trips. His recruiting classes have been bad, and this season after the Tennessee loss in Knoxville, the heat started to turn up, but we've also heard that the buyout's too much, and the fact that Vanderbilt can't afford that, I don't really believe that. But
we don't know that. This is just speculation.
Yeah, but that word speculation, there's been so much out there.
Ooh.
And a lot of the smoke, you can't believe all of it. But like with Mike Vrabel, I told this to somebody this morning, with Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon, we talked all about it. There was a ton of smoke, like half that season, second half of the season, that was the talking point, Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon, and it ended up being true, most of it, if not all of it, and they made a move. And now the organization looks totally different. And I almost think of the same thing with Vanderbilt. There's got to be a fire with all this smoke, even if you don't believe something. There's been too many different things tossed around for at least something not to be true. I don't see this radio silence at Vanderbilt continuing. They're either going to commit to him or they're going to announce a change.
So, even the most optimistic of Vanderbilt fans thinks their season will be over no later than tomorrow. Me, likely tonight with Arkansas, but on the other hand, if they were to win tonight, it's hard to imagine this going on very long. Yeah. So we're about to get to the decision, as I called it. There are three people that in my mind matter on the decision, and I'm not one of them. The three are John Ingram, the owner of Nashville SC, who I would describe as Vanderbilt's team owner. And I say that with a lot of respect for him because John has put his money where his mouth is when it comes to trying to help that program. The other is the athletic director, Candace Lee. And the third is the chancellor, Daniel Diermeyer. And the truth of it is, none of the three have gone on the record to tell anybody anything, which leads to all kinds of speculation, and some of it's accurate, some of it isn't accurate. But there is this belief amongst a lot of Vanderbilt fans that Stackhouse is coming back. Now, I happen to think that's absurd. If in your fifth year, this is what you've produced, out, gone, simply, it should be over. As the Louisville AD said, a change is needed. Well, a change is needed. But I got to be realistic because I'm hearing it all over the place. So what are the repercussions if Vanderbilt retains Jerry Stackhouse? Okay, let's start with number one. one of the things that has haunted Vanderbilt for a long time in the athletic world is how serious are they about winning? And a decision to retain Jerry Stackhouse is going to bring a buttload of that. If you're not willing to fire a basketball coach when he's 9-22 and 4-14 in conference play, what would it have taken? If this is acceptable to give him a 6th year, what was it going to take? 0-29, nobody at any games. I mean, there are already enough empty seats. But this is going to raise a lot of questions about how committed and how serious are you about winning. Y'all comment.
Yeah, I mean, look, Vanderbilt's been questioned about that before. I don't know that would be anything new, but I think regionally within the conference and then nationally, there's going to be some pundits, some behind closed doors coaches, ADs saying, what are they doing? I mean, what are they thinking? Yeah, I mean, there's going to be plenty of that. So yeah, I mean, that's happened before, but there's going to be a lot of that. And it'll get pretty serious, I think. The backlash overall about their commitment to winning will definitely be questioned.
I agree. Yeah, I agree, George. I mean, you've talked about it too. I mean, we all know the troubles of the football program. We get it. We understand that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean the same thing for basketball. Basketball has always kind of been the staple. When you think about Vanderbilt athletics, you think about the Vanderbilt men's basketball team of years past. And now you've got the baseball team obviously compete with that's had national championships, and they're up on the upper echelon now, but Vanderbilt basketball has always kind of been the mainstay, and even their women's program was down, and they've kind of turned it around somewhat. So, yeah, I don't know, George. I mean, I think they're committed to winning, but when everybody says that, but, we talk about the free agency in football, like, I mean, do they have the money to buy them out? But when you look at it, it comes down to cash. It comes down to money. And if people are not coming to the games to watch this, if people are angry and they're showing their displeasure by not doing the things money-wise, I think that's a huge deal that you got to look at if you're Candace Lee.
I agree. It's going to cost them more down the road if they retain him as opposed to paying the buyout.
Okay, let's go to number 2 under the George, how do you know? Well, I don't have 100% proof, but history during the Jerry Stackhouse era tends to say every year there's been kind of a mass exodus. Now, the decision on his end to not go down and be a part of the senior ceremony, if I had been a senior, I would have told him to go blow it out as you know what. If he didn't care enough to support me on senior day, if I was a senior, and he didn't even show up for the ceremony, I don't know whose decision it was. I don't know if it was his. I don't know if it was somebody else's. It was stupid. And if I was a player, I'd have been pissed off. And at the end of the game, I would have made no secret to him of, is this really what you think of us?
Yeah, Don on YouTube.
That's tone deaf.
Yeah. Don on YouTube says he stayed in his office so the seniors would not be subject to the boos he would receive.
So what? I mean, come on. They weren't going to boo the players.
Yeah, and, we were there, George.
I was shocked.
After they announced him, there were some boos, but, I mean, there's more apathy than people care to go there and boo. I mean.
So this year, I'm told their season ticket sales went down to 3,500. And this year, all of you have seen just how bad Memorial Gym has looked. In surveying people last night, I was at their baseball game against Indiana. I would say more than 50% of their existing season ticket holders will bolt if the decision is made to retain him. Now, that's an economic issue. Do they care? I don't know. because I don't see enough anger about what Memorial Gym looks like now. There are too many SEC teams, much like it is in football, who now come in and take over Memorial Gym. And I got to admit, I never thought this would be the case, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, all three of us could probably say that, kind of covering basically 3 different generations almost. I mean, Georgie, you growing up, that place was electric.
It was a madhouse.
Every night. Kelly, same for you. Even me under Stallings with those good years. I mean, basically every generation can say they've seen the Memorial Gym packed for home games, no matter who they were playing. They could have been playing East Carolina, I mean, in the non-conference. So, yeah, seeing Memorial Gym, what it has looked like this season, should be enough for that administration.
And Kelly, number 4 comes to Candace Lee, because up till now, as athletic director, she has really had very favorable marks, a lot of which is based on the fact that she's the first AD in a long time who has been able to get the school to put a shovel in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are actually some buildings for athletics.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they got some good things going for football. I mean she's done it. You're absolutely right. But this is one of those deals right here that is a tough situation for an AD. I know up here it was a tough situation because Massaro had hired the guy and they become friends. I mean they become part of your life, acquaintances, friends. It's a tough part, but when you put on the athletic director hat, you've got to be willing to make decisions. That's what I always loved about Coach Donnelly. Coach Donnelly was not scared to make a decision, whether the decision was wrong. Sometimes he made wrong decisions, but he was never scared to make a decision. And a lot of times in today's world, you get athletic directors that are scared to make decisions. And this is a tough spot for her. And I'm like you. I mean, this is going to kind of cement her legacy one way or the other, whether she does or whether she doesn't.
Well, I've called it professional suicide because I think at that point, then she gets tied to him.
Yep.
And the fact of it is she didn't hire him. The previous AD, Malcolm Turner, hired Jerry Stackhouse. But once this decision is made, if that is it, retaining him, then she gets linked to him. Okay, if he brings back the same pathetic roster that we have seen this year, which is devoid of D1 talent, then what ends up happening is not only does he get shown the door at the end of the season, but she faces a lot more problems than she's had up till now. And personally, look, I want to see her succeed. I do believe that she cares. In my dealings with her, I'm convinced she cares. But I'm also not certain that she understands the level of anger that will come out of this if the decision is made to keep him.
Yeah, and the question I've got is, why have they been so quiet? They haven't, nothing publicly has come out, because if they were to have made the decision already, I guess you could understand some of the silence behind closed doors. They've made the decision. They're just waiting until all the games have been played and the season's over. But in Vanderbilt experience, that they haven't typically shown a ton of competence in that decision-making area. Now, they did let go of Bryce Drew, but that wasn't even this administration. That was Malcolm Turner. So I guess what I'm wondering is this silence, does that mean they've decided to make a change, or does that mean that they're going to stay silent throughout?
We're going to find out shortly one way or the other, okay? Because let's say, for instance, that the season were to end tonight with a loss against Arkansas. Number one, he's going to get asked a ton of questions tonight post-game of, why do you feel you should come back? And based on past history with him, he gets all pissy about it.
Yeah.
as though, everybody's supposed to accept 9-22 because it's Jerry Stackhouse. So, number one, that'll be interesting to watch. Secondly, they're going to have to say something. The public and the various media outlets are going to absolutely demand some level of, look, cut the crap. Is a 9-22 after his 5th year really coming back next year? Now, Kelly,
I got a question for
Yeah,
both.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
I got a question for both of y'all. So, I've been in the arena. I want to know, like, I don't know if you guys had any dealings with him, but like, have you heard? Like, he don't look like he's a very approachable guy to me, and I don't know if he's helped himself in the community. I don't know that. I'm just coming into this with kind of blinders on. You guys have been down there, been part of it. Y'all been doing the show way longer than I've been on here. And what kind of guy is he? Like, is he behind closed doors? Is he a good dude? Is he an unapproachable guy? Do you know anything about him? I'm trying to get a feel for, because when you look at him, he looks like he's mad at the world all the time. And I'm just wondering if that carries over into, the locker room, the fan base, the university. How does that work?
Well, the first part of your question, there's been zero community involvement.
Okay.
I'll say that.
And about the same amount of former player.
Yeah, I know there's a few former
stuff.
players that early on kind of connected with him and they'd go to practice, but other than that, there's no collective. I don't know of any alumni luncheons that they've ever had or any sort of events like that. So that's the first part. Secondly, look, I think he's a smart guy. In terms of his personality, I don't know. I haven't gotten to know him. I mean, I've seen him, I've talked to him, but he has a massive chip on his shoulder.
It's a boulder.
And he really has since he was hired. I think
why? But why? Like, why?
He's a former NBA player. He's got an ego like most coaches nowadays. I don't know that that's anything new, but I just don't think he's gotten along with the fan base, the overall fan base, since he was hired. He alienated the fan base by calling out he had a Trump supporter tweet. He's had several tweets where fans look at it and go, what is he doing? So it's like he just never was able to mend that either, and it got off on the wrong foot. And so I think since then he's kind of had to prove himself to the fans, and it just hasn't really worked.
Kelly, there is a past historical thing, and I'm one of the few people old enough to know exactly how it went down. So here goes. In the late 70s, Vanderbilt had hired a coach named Richard Schmidt, who turned out to be a public relations disaster. And a lot of it centered around problems with Charles Davis and Mike Rhodes, two of Vanderbilt's all-time leading scorers in history. At the end of the second year, and by then, man, you talk about what little in the sports talk world there was, man, he was the subject. And whether he was coming back was the subject. Because back then you didn't have Titans, Preds, soccer, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So the final game of that season was in Birmingham. They had scored this huge upset where they had beaten Kentucky on Thursday night. On Friday, they lose to Ole Miss and the season is over. On Saturday morning, Jimmy Davey, the late Jimmy Davey, corners Vanderbilt Athletic Director Roy Kramer in a room that I am in. And being a 19-year-old, I sort of eavesdropped a little.
Butted in.
And no, I didn't butt in. I just, from back in the back, listened. Am I proud of that? Yeah. I'm a media person. It's what I should do.
And you went and ran your mouth.
No. So Jimmy Davey asked Roy Kramer, will Richard Schmidt be back? And Kramer gave him the standard, we evaluate our coaches daily. And Jimmy goes, Roy, cut the crap. The season's over. Is he coming back for year 3? And Kramer said, yes, he is. I heard it. 5 days later, C.M. Newton was the head coach. So in his latter years, I asked C.M. Newton, because I certainly had a close enough relationship with him to say, level with me. How did this happen? Birmingham booster, Hall Thompson, Shoal Creek down in Birmingham. Big Vanderbilt booster, a lot of money. Ultimately, he trumped Kramer and made the call to bring C.M. Newton here. Now, I don't think that kind of thing is going to happen here, because I think the booster that matters athletically is John Ingram. And I think Candace is smart enough, before that decision is made, she will certainly consult with John Ingram. And then there's the issue of consulting with the chancellor. And I'm going to ask the question here. Does this chancellor have enough sense to say, wait a minute, if this is what you want, I'm catching a lot of heat from Vanderbilt alums about this guy. Tell me why we need to retain him. And, maybe that's not the way it goes down, but I think at most schools, that is the way it would go down.
Back to what Kelly was asking about Stackhouse, and Steve Andrews has something on Twitter here. According to Stackhouse, Jerry Stackhouse has never made a mistake. And I think,
and I do think that's been a problem, is that he has thrown players under the bus, and that pisses him off. And I'll be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
If I'm a player and he did that to me, I would be in his office the next day saying, you know what? You suck as a coach, and maybe I need to say it.
Well, and he's not Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino can say that, and he said that this year. They went on a little winning streak after he.
Yeah, but now let me say this, Billy. We don't know, but that some of the older members of that St. John's class may have gone in and read him the riot act.
Yeah.
And maybe he said, Larry Bud is not walking through that door.
So, George, you're going to tell Coach Donnelly? You're going to walk into his office and tell him, you suck, Coach Donnelly?
If a coach did that to me, because here to me is the unwritten rule in sports. If the team sucks, the coach gets up and says, we didn't play very well. It's my responsibility.
That's correct. You're right.
Jerry Stackhouse never, to my 5 years of watching this, he's never come close to saying that.
Yeah.
It's one of the problems I've got with the guy. He never expresses anything to say it's my responsibility.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say to Kelly to kind of cap that off. There really hasn't been any accountability, and if there was some, whether it was last year or this year, maybe the relationship between him and the fans is different.
By the way, if you want to put the thing up there, the one up above that, no, that one. Okay, read this one.
Roy Kramer could have had the Army head coach instead of Schmidt, but he wouldn't allow that coach to come visit first, so Mike Krzyzewski didn't get the Vandy job.
So the story got out, Kelly. I was in school at the time.
Wow.
Krzyzewski was one of the people that was interested, and after the first visit, which may well have been on the North Pole for all we know, Krzyzewski, as it was about to get to a second interview, said, I want to come see the campus. The story was that, no, you're not. And Krzyzewski pulled out.
That's wild, man. There's no, I've told my daughter this that plays at Lipscomb, there's not many big cities in the Southeastern Conference. Like Nashville is a big city. I think that's what you have to do if you're recruiting kids. You recruit tradition and we're in one of the major cities in the United States. There's so much to do I don't know, man. I just I hate that for Vanderbilt because, like I said, when I was growing up, I totally remember the tradition that they had. I enjoyed watching them play basketball. They were always really good when I was a kid, and to be where they are right now. But if you're a coach, George, you have to go out and you have to like kiss babies and shake hands. You got to be willing to do that stuff. You got to get out in the community. And if you do get out in the community, then people are not going to be so hard on you when you fall on these tough, lean times right now. And
Listen,
I don't know. It's just hard.
The guy that both wrote the book on that of buying time, the absolute master at kissing babies and shaking hands was C.M. Newton.
You got to. You
People
got to.
forget.
You got to be.
He had an 11-game SEC losing streak at Vandy, and you didn't hear any of this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One more thing here from Jamie, which I think is interesting. He said, let's face the facts. If the buyout is $14.5 million, Stackhouse is safer than the underground bunker at the governor's mansion. I think he's safe anyways. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he also says if he stays, Candace Lee should be fired by Easter, his opinion.
Wow.
Well,
that's big.
Here's what we do know. Tonight starts the SEC tournament. Even the most optimistic of Vandy fans doesn't see this going very far, whether it's tonight or tomorrow. Then the real season begins. And eventually, in the next week or so, somebody's going to have to say something, because 9-22 and 4-14 doesn't deserve an automatic, you're in. Great. Have at it. You're super. It doesn't work that way.
I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with the guy that brought that tweet up there, though, man. I'm not sure anything's going to happen, George. I'm not sure.
Might not.
I mean, we all got opinions. I mean, we all have opinions, but I'm not. I hope for y'all that you can get this thing going back in the right direction. But I don't see it.
Okay, after the break, we'll have the plaster bet of the day, which, frankly, it needs to change. Stay tuned.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank and Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank and Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Final segment on a Wednesday. SEC tournament underway tonight. Vanderbilt and Arkansas at 6. Missouri and Georgia at about 8:30, give or take. So we'll keep an eye on that tonight. But first, Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. And real quick, an update. Wake Forest still up on Notre Dame by 11, 62-51, about midway through the second half there. So looks like Wake on their way to a victory. We'll see if they hold on. But let's do a little review from last night. As we already know, Gonzaga gagged it. They lost by 9 instead of winning by at least 3.5.
So I lost, and I was happy to sacrifice my record. Good for the St. Mary's kids. Yeah, Gonzaga cops an attitude that, their stuff doesn't smell. And anytime anybody challenges them on the court, all of a sudden it always gets chippy.
Well, their stuff hadn't smelled in a long time, George.
No, but it did last night. St. Mary's stuffed it down their throat. And I'll be honest, by the end, I really liked it. Those kids have just got a little too much arrogance.
They do.
About what they are.
They've got some Duke in them.
So I'll just remind them, you've never won it.
Never.
And this team ain't going to win it.
Nope.
So let's go. And because it looks like, based on my record, I ain't winning anything either. Here we go.
You might need to go.
Change is needed.
He will not be retained because of poor Bet of the Day results.
What's all this silence about? We need some sort of announcement.
Well, yeah. Okay, here we go. Item number 1. Hold on a second. What are you telling me there?
That was a cue that I don't have the graphics.
Oh, Kelly, any thoughts?
George,
I didn't have the graphics yesterday. You've got to get up before noon, Billy, and get into the deadgum Bellevue place. They're at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, and you got to figure it out, Hoss.
Here we
go.
You're
start getting fined.
But you're going to start getting fined. People listen to this too. It's not.
Do what?
End all be all. People get the graphics.
Oh, I think they want. I think they want this. Okay.
I want them.
Last night, we know you do. Last night, Cal extended the contract of their coach, Mark Madsen, who went to Stanford. Tonight, Cal and Stanford play in the Pac-12 or Pac-2 or whatever number you want to use. I will say this, neither of these two will be around come Saturday, but Cal plus 2.5 will win tonight.
Okay. Cal just extended Mark Madsen, their head coach.
What did I just say?
Wait, did you just say that?
Billy, what are you at right now, Hoss?
That's my bad.
I mean, are you? Did you take a nap today too after 12?
I was zoned out.
Let's be honest. You've taken on some water in this segment.
Gracious, Billy, grow up, dude. Be professional.
Item number 2. I'm taking Clemson minus 6.5 against BC, Boston College, for one reason. BC sucks. Now, let's say this. They may not be very good, but they came in here and beat Vandy by about 20 in December.
That's not saying much.
No, it really isn't. But Clemson's pretty good. I would assume, is Clemson in right now?
I want to say no off the top of my head. Let me see.
They got to be close.
Clemson. Oh, yeah. Clemson's in, actually.
Clemson's in.
Yeah.
Okay. Third one. Late information, Kelly, that this is going to be a loss, but I'm going to go ahead and go with it. Kansas is a 2.5-point dog to Cincinnati.
Really?
In normal times, Cincinnati would be about a 9-point dog the other way.
Right.
Kansas will be without Hunter Dickinson. Who's the good guard?
For Kansas. Kate?
No. It's
I can't remember his name.
I know who you're talking
He
about.
won't be there either.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
so
really?
that may be an automatic loss.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Kelly,
it's all right here. Let me show you what it's all worth. Those
What, Billy? What are you about to ask me, Billy?
Kelly, who you got, Vandy or Arkansas?
I'm with George, man. I think Arkansas beats them. If Arkansas plays like they are capable of playing with the talent that they got, they'll smash them. But there's something going on in Arkansas and Little Rock, so I don't know, or where? Excuse me, wherever that is.
Little Rock,
Fayetteville.
Little Rock's the center of where it all.
Yeah, that's
Look,
right.
it may be Fayetteville, but Little Rock is the center of all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're done. Enjoy night number 1 of the SEC tournament. If you're going down there, get there early. Why? I don't know.
The crowds have been better on Wednesday nights because I think part of it is the Preds give out their complimentary tickets, even though it's the 4 worst teams in the league. But we'll see.
Oh, wow.
If you need a night out on the town, this is it. See you tomorrow.
See y'all.